Ксенечка, я люблю тебе.
Hear my plea to the fallen, leave me to be with the broken one last time before I go. Hold the last burning ember, let us never surrender. May we rise up to the glory and the fall. For the weak and the broken, for the lost and forsaken, let us never surrender. May we rise up to the call. For the weak and the broken, for the lost and forsaken, let us never surrender. For the glory of the fall. For the beat and the broken, for the lost and forsaken, let us never surrender. Now we rise unto the call.
All right, everybody, check in. Orc Hunters, how are we doing on day 174 of the war in Ukraine, August 16th, 2022? Check in. Check in, check in, check in. I gotta put the music source on. There we go. There we go. Check into the stream. How are we doing? Day 174 of the war in Ukraine with the non-mythical counteroffensive. Daniel, you keep trying. You keep trying. I swear to God, Russia's going to start recruiting you. Here you got the most hopium for Russia there is in the chat at all times. Ukraine hit another ammunition depot in the Crimean Peninsula. It is circled on the screen right now. I wanted to make sure I highlighted it for you so you know exactly where it is when we dive in. It's in the middle of the green circle. I put a line on the map leading right into it. Specifically, the town of Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy. That sounds about how it's pronounced. 2 people were injured in an explosion at a military base in a settlement near the town of Zelenskyy in the Crimean Peninsula. Russia invaded and annexed in 2014, but it is in Ukraine's territory. Russian officials have blamed an act of sabotage for the explosion. Russian officials have blamed an act of sabotage, cited an anonymous high-ranking Ukrainian official in reporting the cause of the explosion as an elite Ukrainian military unit operating behind enemy lines. This is the second existence of an explosion at a military base in Crimea within the past week. Ukrainian officials have said they aim to cut supply lines to Russian forces located in Ukraine's southern regions. What does this look like from satellite? And then we'll go to the video. There we go. Got it already queued up. Zelenskyy. I think there's anywhere we can go inside of the city. We'll get the exact geolocation, but this is where we're looking at here in the Crimean Peninsula. 2 strikes within the peninsula in the last week. Let's take a look.
Ебать. Стекай, с подвала слезь быстро, сейчас волна будет, нахуй. Слезь, сейчас волна дойдет до нас, если стекла нахуй вылетят. Уйди.
Got him.
Ебать.
Another one.
С подвала слезь быстро, сейчас волна будет, нахуй. Слезь, сейчас волна дойдет до нас, еще стекла нахуй вылетят. Уйди.
Big strike. Big explosion in the Crimean Peninsula. Ukraine is now striking deep within Russian territory. Oh my goodness. Striking deep within Russian territory. Let's get more from that. I know there's more video than that. Here's another one. This is about 1:25 long. Another video of the Russian depot in Mercado, Crimea.
Да? Прям перед машиной причем.
Sheesh.
Да нихера не летает.
See all the sparks flying out. Sheesh. Oh, you better watch out.
Ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
Another orc smoke session. Smoking on that orc pack. Don't mind if I do. Putin's chef just left the stove on a little too long. Prigozhin, I don't know. He traveled to he was in Popasna. Now he's in Crimea, just cooking hot dogs, and he's leaving the stove on too long, or smoking in the kitchen or something. I don't know.
Ух, ебать, они там поразлетались.
Алло.
Нихера себе.
А какой автобус, блядь?
Это же автобус шевелится.
Oh my goodness.
Километров 6 автобус шевелится.
Oh my, we need to watch that again. We're gonna watch this a few times tonight.
Да? Прям перед машиной причем.
Oh my goodness.
Да нихера не летает.
Wow, what a strike.
Ух, ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
Все. Я уехал на Жанкой, поеду автобусом ставлю, все, не пускает вопрос.
Wow.
А нет, все.
все, короче, я на базу авто заставлю, все, откуда толку, ебашим там, блядь.
Ух, ебать, они там поразлетались.
Алло,
Нихера себе.
Massive.
какой автобус, блядь, ебаный.
Это же автобус
Look
шевелится.
at how many secondary explosions there are. They hit a big one.
Азовскому, ебаный.
В километрах 6 автобус шевелится.
Взрывается.
So again, we just got a bunch of new viewers because explosions spike the algorithm whenever that's on screen. So I'm going to show y'all exactly what we're looking at. So this is in the Crimean Peninsula. Circled here on our war map in the middle of the green circle. I even got the extra line sticking out of it. So you know exactly where it's at here. Ukraine striking targets in deep in Russian territory. So we have the airstrike on the airfield in the Crimean Peninsula last week. This week, a week later, you got another one right in the Crimean Peninsula. Listen, we got reports Russia's shutting the bridge down. Russia's shutting the Crimean bridge down. Check this out. Russia reportedly closed the Crimean bridge overnight on security grounds. Ooh, you can't even get out now. Uh-oh. The real reason for the closure may be to slow the exodus of Russians fleeing the fortress, Crimea, following a series of unsuccessful Ukrainian attacks on Russian military targets in the occupied peninsula. They're going to prevent the Russians vacationing, or the Russians that have been comfortable in the Crimean Peninsula from leaving. Be interesting if that bridge, something happened to that bridge as an act of goodwill. That'd be interesting if something were to happen to that bridge there. So here it is. I'm wondering if we have any more footage of it. So analysis based on high resolution images. So let's get the geolocation. That's what I was waiting for. So I can pull it up on the map exactly. Let's get the exact. All right. Now just a little bit to the southeast of Zelenskyy. Zelenskyy is the biggest city near. So it's just to the southeast of that town of Zelenskyy. Russians had a bunch of ammunition stored here, or used to. Is this an after image already? No, that can't be. What's the date on the... That's the geolocation of the ammunition depot. I thought it looked like it was... Looks like it's destroyed in the satellite imagery. At least that's what I think I'm seeing. I'm seeing... Unless that's just the ass environment they put their ammunition in. Could just be poor and a poor, I don't know. It looks like from the satellite imagery, it's already a tough spot to have ammunition stored. Medium resolution planet satellite imagery of the ammunition depot. The full image. Wow. It's all in the open. Though I was initially skeptical and thought the railway warehouses were hit, it seems a newly built Russian ammo dump more south of the railroad blew up in Crimea. So that the smoke on is from the... We are looking at a actual satellite image of it. They're keeping these satellite pictures up to date, really up to date. Oh wow, let's go back to the video. Well, let's type in Crimea and see if there's any further video of what's going on there. Every Tuesday, a Russian military facility in Crimea suddenly detonates.
Ох, бля, снаряд упал, бля.
Да?
О, на дорогу. Ты.
Прям перед машиной причем. Да нихера не летает.
Hey, what up, Ben? I wish we could too.
Ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
Oh, like we did for last week's strikes in Crimea.
Чё? Я уехал на Жанкой, поеду автобус оставлю, все, не пускает вас воз.
Wow.
А нет, все, короче, я на паузу автобус оставлю, все.
Looks like those sparks are flying pretty far. Like over there, it looks like it's going over their truck. Those sparks are flying quite a ways.
А какой Азовский, бля, ёбаный?
Это ж автобус шевелится.
Это Азовскому, бля, ёбаный.
В километрах 6 автобус шевелится.
Взрывается.
Wow. It is reported that after today's explosions in Crimea, queues formed at the Simferopol railway station. Ooh, they're trying to leave. Russians trying to evacuate. Oops. Uh-oh. All those dumbass questions about where's the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Boy, it's coming. All right. Don't worry about it. Hey. Why don't you practice falling down? Ukraine will be there in a minute. Yes, Ukraine hit another ammunition depot. This one specifically in Crimea. Ukraine did tell him to leave. That's a good point. Ukraine told him. Zelenskyy said, "Hey, and it's time to evacuate." Well, evacuations. Here's a distance shot. Looks like a transformer station's been hit. Mysterious explosions in Crimea are becoming a weekly occurrence. Oops. National Lampoon's Crimean Vacation. That's just how you know there's the cognitive dissonance from the propaganda that you would be vacationing 200 kilometers away from the front lines of a very brutal war right now. Like in a moment, your entire village can be wiped out if you live in a small village from these rocket strikes. And you're 200 kilometers away vacationing on the beach, chilling in Crimea. Ooh. Yeah, bud. I don't know if that's what he said, but that's what it sounded like to me. Yeah, bud.
Ебать. Стекай, с подвала слезь быстро, сейчас волна будет, нахуй.
Goodness.
Слезь, сейчас волна дойдет до нас. Еще и стекла нахуй вылетят. Уйди. Ебать. Стекай, с подвала.
Massive. We've seen this one. This is from the truck, right? Yep, that's from the truck. Crimeans trying to leave. Lady is dancing in the center of a Kyiv hit song, "Glory to the Armed Forces of Ukraine." She probably heard about the news from Crimea. How they're handling the news in Kyiv. So far, it looks like the longest video of the strike is going to be this 1.5-minute long video from the truck, which is a long video.
Да?
Sounds like this audio is a little better than before too.
Да? Прям перед машиной причем. Да нихера не летает.
No, I see you, John. You're not in trouble. Wow. It is just a ridiculously massive strike.
Ух, ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
There's no denying it at this point. No denying the inevitable. Ukraine needs to move troops though soon before the winter kicks in and Russia gets their troops before Russia gets their soldiers in the south dug in. So they're hitting targets lately. I mean, we can use your eyes, use your memory. In a week now, last Tuesday we were watching the airfield getting hit in the Crimean Peninsula and the beachgoers all shook. That was just a week ago. And I got a massive ammunition depot getting struck in Crimea a week later. Oh yeah. Just massive strikes in the Crimean Peninsula.
Про вибухи на території українці, українки.
Go ahead, Zelenskyy. What does he got?
Щодня і щоночі ми бачимо нові повідомлення про вибухи на території, яка тимчасово зайнята окупантами.
Temporarily occupied.
Я прошу зараз усіх наших людей в Криму, в інших регіонах, на півдні держави, в окупованих районах Донбасу і Харківщини бути дуже уважними. Будь ласка, не наближайтесь до військових об'єктів російської армії і усіх тих місць, де вони зберігають боєприпаси і техніку, де тримають свої штаби.
He warned them. He said, hey, listen, don't go anywhere near the Russian military targets in occupied territories within Ukraine.
Причини вибухів на окупованій території можуть бути різні, дуже різні, в тому числі, цитую, визначення самих окупантів – головотяпство.
Zelenskyy looking a little better lately.
Але сенс у них у всіх один – знищення логістики окупантів, їхніх боєприпасів, військової та іншої техніки, командних пунктів рятує життя наших людей. Чим менше буде в окупантів можливості творити зло і вбивати українців, тим швидше ми зможемо закінчити цю війну звільненням нашої землі. І черга цими днями на виїзд з Криму в Росію через мост доводить, що абсолютна більшість громадян держави-терориста вже розуміє або принаймні відчуває, що Крим не місце для них.
Crimea is not a safe place for them.
Я хочу подякувати усім українцям, які допомагають нашим Збройним силам, нашій розвідці, нашим спецслужбам послаблювати армію окупантів. В цьому значна перевага України і першопричина нашої майбутньої перемоги. Боротьба наших захисників базується на безумовній підтримці українського народу. Це народна визвольна війна. Це всеукраїнська боротьба за свободу і незалежність для нашої держави. Україну захищають так чи інакше мільйони. Мільйони людей, які воюють на фронті, які борються за свої міста і села, зокрема і в окупації. які зупиняли техніку окупантів, які інформували і інформують нашу розвідку та спецслужби, які протистоять окупантам в їхньому тилу, які забезпечують необхідне постачання для України і роботу усіх наших державних інституцій та економіки, які волонтерять, які б'ються за наші інтереси за кордоном, які воюють в інформаційній війні. І ми маємо зробити і зробимо все, щоб зберегти цей всенародний фундамент оборони, щоб підтримка України у світі не зменшувалась і щоб наша держава рухалась до перемоги. Має не зменшуватись і наша власна активність абсолютно всіх, хто так чи інакше став на захист нашої держави. Робіть все, як і робили, для України і навіть більше, бо керівництво Росії розраховує, що українці, європейці, увесь світ відчують втому від цієї війни. Ми ж повинні зробити все, щоб втомились не ми і не наші друзі та партнери, а наш ворог. Щоб ми вигнали окупантів з України. Щодня Росії має ставати все складніше воювати. Це наше військово-політичне завдання номер 1. Говорив сьогодні з президентом Франції Еммануелем Макроном, поінформував його про ситуацію навколо Запорізької атомної станції та чергові російські провокації. Подякував за вагому підтримку. Зокрема, обговорили з паном президентом нову безпекову і макрофінансову допомогу нашій державі. Також провів переговори з прем'єр-міністром Данії, теж про посилення фінансової підтримки України, про нові санкції проти Росії. Подякував пані Фредеріксен за оборонну допомогу і за результативну конференцію в Копенгагені, яка нещодавно погодила конкретні рішення для нашого захисту. Вперше в історії наших двосторонніх відносин провів переговори з президентом Замбії. Обговорили співпрацю в міжнародних організаціях, продовольчу безпеку і актуальні глобальні загрози. Сьогодні Україну відвідали пан Гі Мун, 8-й генеральний секретар ООН та Хуан Мануель Сантос, екс-президент Колумбії. Головна тема розмови з ними – це гарантії безпеки для України. Ми робимо все для того, щоб сформувати таку військову, політичну і юридичну архітектуру безпеки для України, яка буде реальною, яка буде дієвою і працюватиме довгостроково, гарантуючи спокій нашим людям. Російська армія цієї доби продовжила абсолютно безглузді, жорстокі обстріли міст Запорізької області та Дніпропетровщини, Оріхів, Нікополь. На жаль, є поранені, на жаль, є жертви. Продовжуються обстріли Харкова, прикордонних районів, але все це нічого не дасть окупантам і не зламає наш опір. Наші герої відбивають постійні і дуже потужні атаки на Донбасі. Окупанти там застосують все. Авіацію, ракети, фосфорні бомби, артилерію. Тривають дуже жорстокі бої. Маємо пройти через це, витримати все і вибороти життя. Україна має перемогти, і це буде. Підписав сьогодні указ про нагородження наших захисників. 189 воїнів відзначено державними нагородами, 158 військовослужбовці Нацгвардії, з них 21 посмертно, 26 прикордонників, з них 2 посмертно, 3 поліцейських, з них 2 посмертно, 2 працівника Державної митної служби, з них 1 посмертно. Вічна пам'ять усім, хто віддав життя за Україну. Вічна слава усім нашим героям. Слава Україні!
Glory to Ukraine. Not a good idea to be visiting Crimea. Unless they want an unpleasantly hot summer break, we advise our valued Russian guests not to visit Ukrainian Crimea. Want to go to Ukrainian Crimea for vacation. Because of the explosions in the Crimean on the Kerch Bridge, the Russians are chaotically trying to leave the peninsula. Russian media reports that record daily traffic was recorded today. About 38.3 thousand cars drove in both directions in a day. Oh, time to get the hell out of there.
Все текают, короче, из Крыма. Вообще жесть. Пробка.
Traffic jam, leaving, trying to get out of Crimea. Vacation was cut short.
Все текают, короче, из Крыма.
If only the Russians would stop smoking
Вообще жесть.
near their facilities and having safety meetings near specifically their ammunition depots. That's not the good one. Here it is if you just started tuning in. We keep getting about 100 more people or so every time, but here's the video. I mean, it's not going to get old watching it. Maybe we'll watch it and then I'll read some updates while we're watching this again, because for the people that just continue to deny the fact that Ukraine is winning in the south.
Да? Прям перед машиной причем.
2 massive strikes. I'll do a poll in the chat. Let me do a poll. 2 massive strikes within a week, and this isn't even counting the infrastructure that Ukraine's hitting in the southern axis as well. This is just their ammunition. Ammunition depots have been getting hit in Novokhovka, which is to the east of Kherson, on a weekly basis. They haven't hit it yet this week, but last week they hit it. The week before they hit it. They took a week off before that. Then before that, they had a huge Novokhovka. That's actually in the intro video now. Like, there's part of when you start watching Mercado Media, I got a little intro. There's like one of those is the Novokhovka ammunition depot explosion. So all summer, or since the mid-July at least, beginning of July, they've been hitting targets in the southern axis. But this doesn't even count the rail bridge that was destroyed to the east in the southern axis over by Melitopol. They've been hitting more and more specific Russian targets, and the Zelenskyy just said, hey, listen, if you're near Russian military bases, don't go near those. Stay away from all Russian military bases or any military infrastructure if you live in an occupied region of Ukraine. Hold tight. Hold tight.
Ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
Чё? Я уехал на Жанкой, поеду, автобус оставлю, все, не пускает вас ВОЗ? А нет, все, короче, я на базу автобус оставлю, все, а курит толку, экипаж там, блин.
Ух, ебать, они там поразлетались.
Алло.
Нихера себе.
Да какой автобус, бля, ебаный.
Это ж автобус шевелится.
Азовскому, бля, ебаный.
В километрах 6 автобус шевелится.
I'm putting the polls up in the chat on Facebook and YouTube real quick. And activate. Daniel, super chat, show the last 30 days of the Kherson again. All right. We'll do that when I get to the map update. We'll do that when we do the map rundown. So here's from Associated Press, some reading material. There's a photo. Explosions and fires rippled through an ammunition depot in Russian-occupied Crimea on Tuesday, in the second suspected Ukrainian attack on the peninsula in just over a week, forcing the evacuation of more than 3,000 people. Russia blamed the blasts in the village of Makotsky as an act of sabotage without naming its perpetrators. Separately, the Russian business newspaper Kommersant quoted residents as saying plumes of black smoke also rose over an airbase in Crimea's Gvardorzoki. That's what I was trying to say earlier. So, Gvardiyaskoyi. There we go. Gvardiyaskoyi. Ukraine stopped short of publicly claiming responsibility for any of the blasts, including those that destroyed 9 Russian planes at another Crimea airbase last week. Russia seized the Crimean Peninsula in 2014 and has used it to launch attacks against Ukraine in the war that began nearly 6 months ago. If Ukrainian forces were behind the explosions, that would represent a significant escalation in the war. I mean, they are behind it. They haven't like blatantly came out and said yes, it was us, but it was I mean, it was them. Both of these attacks are Ukraine. That would represent a significant escalation in the war. Such attacks could also indicate that Ukrainian operatives are able to penetrate deeply into Russian-occupied territory. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy alluded to Ukrainian attacks behind enemy lines when he included individuals, quote, who oppose the occupiers in their rear, in a list of people he thanked for supporting the country's war effort. In a video address Tuesday night, he also warned people not to go near military installations, which we heard from Zelenskyy himself, and storage sites for ammunition and equipment. In another reported act of sabotage, Russia's TASS news service quoted the FSB security agency as saying Ukrainian operatives blew up 6 high-voltage transmission towers earlier this month in Russia's Kursk region, which is close to Ukraine. The Kremlin has demanded that Kyiv recognize Crimea as part of Russia as a condition for ending the fighting, while Ukraine has vowed to drive Moscow's forces from the peninsula on the Black Sea. Videos posted on social media showed thick columns of smoke rising over raging flames in Makotsky. A series of explosions could be heard. The Russian Defense Ministry said a power plant, electrical lines, railroad tracks, and apartment buildings were damaged. We came out and took a look and saw clouds of smoke coming from the cowshed where the military warehouses were, said resident Muskim Moldovsky. We stayed there till about 7 to 8 a.m. Everything was exploding, flashes, fragments, debris falling on us. Then the emergency guys came and said they were evacuating everybody. Crimea's regional leader Sergei Atskinov said 2 people were injured and more than 3,000 have evacuated. The detonations are rather strong. Ammunition is strewn all over the ground. In what may have been a retaliation for the attacks in Crimea, Russian warplanes fired missiles at a military airfield in Zhytomyr, 87 miles west of Kyiv, damaging a runway and vehicles. And also, shout out to Mehmet, who tunes into the stream, by the way. And Mehmet used to run a live stream outside of his window. He's in Ukraine. They had air sirens 2 hours ago in Kyiv in Ukraine. So it's 2:30 a.m. posted. So Russia is responding on Kyiv. Is that 2:30 a.m.? Shout out to Mehmet. And Ukraine had to come and tell him no more live stream, understandably. We used to watch out his window, as well as a few other cameras in the square.
Да?
Just a unreal strike.
Да ни хера не летает.
What do y'all think in the chat? So far, looking at the votes and percentages, you got Ukraine at 71%, who is winning the war. Russia's at 8%. There are more people that are unsure than that are saying Russia is winning the war. They're slowly, Topper. They're not advancing quickly. There's been heavier strikes in the southern axis than there have been Russian gains in the east lately. There has been heavier evidence of Ukrainian counteroffensives that we're seeing on a routine basis than we're seeing in Russian gains in the east. Oh yeah, that's why I put unsure. Unsure is a great answer.
Они там поразлетали. Ни хера себе. Это ж автобус шевелится.
So more on this. So this is the second instance of the explosion at a military base in Crimea this past week. Also, Russian headquarters in the east in Lysychansk. I think I retweeted it on Mercado Media, or we posted it. So not only were there counteroffensive strikes in the Crimean Peninsula in the south of Ukraine, there was also a Russian headquarters in Lysychansk that was destroyed. Just keeps getting worse. Situation just keeps getting worse for the Russian military. Yesterday, the Wagner Group headquarters was hit in Popasna. Today, you got a Russian military headquarters in Lysychansk that was targeted and destroyed. Wow. Headquarters destroyed. So yesterday you had one in Popasna, one and today one destroyed in the city of Lysychansk. Video posted today on our timeline. Let's do a viewer check-in. Comment where you're tuning in from. Welcome to Mercado Media. I'm Andrew Mercado. I'm still waiting for the newest round of information about the map updates, and it just came through. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. Going to do a map rundown. Actually, I'm gonna read the latest stories while we watch that ammunition depot continuously blow up in the background. How about that? On repeat. I'm gonna pull this up, and I'll read the updates. Just some lo-fi. There we go. How do I do it? How do I do it so it goes on repeat? Is it just going to keep playing over and over again? Awesome. There we go. Put that up there. Alright, now I'll read the updates. So, Russian and Ukrainian sources reported explosions at an airfield at a critical Russian supply nexus in Crimea on August 16th. Zoom in here. Local reports and video show a series of explosions at a Russian ammunition depot and a transformer substation in Dozovsky district at an airfield near Havarsky in Crimea. These explosions both caused significant damage to Russian resources and seriously disrupted Russian logistics. Russian forces have used Zelenskyy as a railway hub for transporting troops and equipment to occupied settlements in southern Zaporizhia Oblast, including Melitopol. Russian authorities temporarily suspended passenger rail service from Russia into Crimea following the attack. Ukrainian forces have not officially claimed responsibility for these explosions. The New York Times reported that an anonymous senior Ukrainian official attributed the explosions to the Zinovitsky district to an elite Ukrainian military unit operating behind enemy lines, but no Ukrainian official has publicly come forward to claim the responsibility. The Russian Ministry of Defense released a statement calling the explosions a result of sabotage. How we doing? We got Liverpool tuned in. Oh my goodness, we got Boona, Queensland. Good morning from the Netherlands. How's the Netherlands doing this morning? I would love to visit the Netherlands. Gather round, gather round. Sober person here in Anoka, Minnesota, representing the Ukrainian Diaspora River in Michigan. Watching from Palm Desert, California. Welcome, Glen Falls, New York. What's up, Nathan? East Freedom, Pennsylvania. Good to have you. Oxford, United Kingdom. Minneapolis. I gotta play the explosions in the background again. All right. Continuing on. Welcome to Mercado Media. A Ukrainian strike on logistics targets in Crimea, which is the sovereign territory of Ukraine, would not violate Ukrainian commitments to Western partners regarding Ukraine's use of Western-supplied weapons within Ukrainian territories. So that's why they got to hit these targets, and they got to hit more of them before Russia starts these sham referendums, because then they'll be considered Russian territory. They're like crime. They got to continue it. There are no indications that Ukrainian forces used U.S. supply weapons in recent strikes in Crimea, and it is unlikely that they did, since the targets are well beyond the range. Ukraine has their own. Ukraine has Toka-U missiles. They have their own capabilities for long-range strikes. They just can't use U.S. supplied weapons for long-range strikes right now. Attacks on Russian positions in and around Crimea are likely part of a coherent Ukrainian counteroffensive to regain control of the west bank of the Dnipro River. Russian supply lines from Crimea directly support Russian forces in mainland Ukraine, including those in western Kherson Oblast. Ukraine's targeting of Russian ground lines of communication and logistics support assets in Crimea is consistent with the Ukrainian counteroffensive effort that has also targeted bridges over the Dnipro River and Russian logistical support elements in occupied Kherson Oblast. The net effects of the western bank of the Dnipro River and to defend them the net effects of this campaign will likely be to disrupt the ability of Russian forces to sustain mechanized forces on the west bank of the Dnipro River and to defend them with air and artillery assets on the east bank from Ukrainian counterattacks. The Kremlin continues efforts to misrepresent its likely maximalist goals in Ukraine. Russian strategic objectives remain unchanged, changing the regime in Kyiv and securing territorial control over most of Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin omitted mention of territory outside of Donbass while describing the goals of Russia's war in Ukraine on August 15th. Putin disclosed his preliminary remarks in the 2022 forum on August 15th with the claim that Russian and Donbass forces are doing their duty to fight for Russia and, quote, liberate Donbass. Such a limited statement of Russian goals sharply contrasts with previously articulated Russian war goals to denazify and demilitarize all of Ukraine. Putin's relatively limited statement additionally is incompatible with Russian actions to integrate occupied parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia oblasts into Russian Federation. Some more news about what's going on in the ground in Ukraine. So let's get to the map update. Pull the map out, dust the maps off. Territory changes going into each individual territory. That's the exact location of the strikes in Crimea. Or my Google Maps could give out again like it does. There's the two locations of the recent strikes in the Crimean Peninsula. Let me pull up my maps real fast. Pull up my maps here. Something's going on with my every time now. My Google Maps freezes up on me. That's okay. All right, here we go. So there's three main fronts in Ukraine at this time. As of day 175 of the war in Ukraine, you have the southern axis in Ukraine. You have the eastern front, also known as the Donbass. And you have the Kharkiv Oblast and the city of Belgorod up in the northeast. All right, we're going to go into each individual front. Right, starting with the east. I'm going to highlight some key cities that Russia controls, and I'm going to highlight Ukrainian. I'm going to highlight each Ukrainian city as we move around. There we go. That should be way better. Now I can actually fit Advidka on the screen. All right, starting with Russian-controlled cities. Izium, Lyman, Sverdlovsk and Lysychansk. Popasna is right here. Donetsk, Lugansk back here. Then I'll highlight... Yeah, I'll leave it at that. All right, and I'm going to highlight some of the Russian advancing directions with the red arrows. Okay, those are the Russian advancing directions. I'm going to go around each city in this pocket of the Donbass in terms of which city I'm referring to, starting with the town of Sloviansk. Oh, I also got to do Ukrainian counteroffensive directions. Dubrovny, one towards Izium, and the Kharkiv Oblast. Those are the Ukrainian counteroffensive directions. Now I'll highlight each individual Ukrainian city, starting with Sloviansk. Russian forces conducted limited ground attacks on the Izium-Sloviansk line on August 16th. The Ukrainian General Staff reported for the second consecutive day that Russian forces retreated following an unsuccessful ground assault near Mazanivka, which is 24 kilometers northwest of Sloviansk. Russian mill blogger Starhi Edi claimed that Russian forces chose to withdraw from Mazanivka into the forest south of the settlement. Starhi Edi noted that Ukrainian and Russian forces are engaged in heavy artillery battles in the Mazanivka area. So just artillery battles, no changes on the ground in Sloviansk, limited ground attacks, but nothing that has punched through or has changed the ground in the town of Sloviansk. Now we're going to talk about the town of Seversk. That is to the east of Sloviansk. Starhi Edi also claimed that Russian and Ukrainian forces are engaged in heavy battles in the forests of Svity Hory National Park. Excuse me. The Nature Park. Donetsk People's Republic Deputy Information Minister Daniil Beznetsov reposted Starhi Edi's report before promptly deleting it. The Ukrainian General Staff had previously stated that Ukrainian forces repelled Russian assaults in the area of the Svity Hory National Park. Nature Park. I keep saying national, but it's the Hory Nature Park, which is 20 kilometers northeast of Sloviansk on the 26th. If the report by Starshi Edi is true, then it would suggest that Ukrainian forces entered the territory of Sviaty Hory Park and are operating on the eastern bank of the Seversky Donetsk River. Another mill blogger also released a map showing Prishib, which is about 20 kilometers northeast of Sloviansk, and to the northwest of Svity Hory Park, which within areas marked as seeing ongoing combat operations, reversing a prior Russian claim of territorial control of the settlement. Let's zoom in on that. That's Borodarichny. Let me look up where that city is. I haven't seen this city on the maps. Starshi Edi, or Edi probably. Figure out where this is, and Ukrainian forces taking pictures within it. Well, of course that's not how it's spelled. Let's see if I can find it near Prishib. There's a town of Prishib. That's way far away from Sloviansk. Oh my goodness. Can I show Russian territory? We're looking at it. On the map, all of the red is Russian territory. If you're looking at the map on the screen right now, everything on the screen in red is Russian controlled territory. And the white here, when I'm circling it, when we're going around the map and I'm circling regions in this white space, that's Ukrainian controlled territory. Man, Prishib, that's not anywhere close to Sloviansk. Svity Hory Park. Let's see if I can find that. Oh, and my maps froze again. Literally every time. Every time now, look at it. Now it's just a, oh my goodness. Frustration. They're trying to keep me down from maps. It's okay. Svety Hory National Park. There it is. Northeast of Sloviansk. So that shows up. Now we'll see if we can find that town that's even further north of the, yeah, that would be on the eastern bank of the river. What is that town that they're talking about in the report, though? You got Svetodrov here, Makatsai, Leman's, right? Leman is the next largest city. Svetogorsk is to the northwest. I have no idea what town they're trying to say in this report. It's tough when there's multiple spellings of cities within Ukraine, too, that reports are using. So if this report is true, then it would suggest that Ukrainian forces have entered that territory of the park. So let's pull this up on our war map here so we can make a little bit more sense of it. There's Prashib. Okay, here's the town I was looking for. That park is here in this. That park is in here. Yep. On the other side of the river. Right now, the war map has the Russian control all the way up to the river line. So you might be seeing some reflective changes on the map if the report does come to fruition in the east here, that Ukraine has taken further or liberated further territory in the east. So you might be seeing something like this coming soon. And this blue. That is the nature park. One claim of it so far. We gotta wait for it though. Again, this is the region that Ukraine has had successes with counteroffensives as well this summer due to Russia moving their units to assist in the defense of the south. Let me move my stuff back. There we go. Now everything's back to where it was. There we go. All right, that's it. Ukraine in that pocket. We will continue to monitor the situation around Prashib, Svitogorsk, and the Svety Hory Park as more information becomes available in the open source. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, the Svety Hory Nature Park. All right. Russian forces continue to shell settlements along the Kharkiv-Donetsk Oblast border and targeted areas near Nova, Derminivka, and Dubrovny, both within 20 kilometers southwest of Izium with incendiary ammunitions on August 16th. Russian forces also shelled civilian infrastructure in Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. Ukrainian forces continue to target Russian ground lines of communications on the Kharkiv city Izium line. Footage posted to social media on August 16th shows a destroyed Russian railway bridge near Horoshivka, just west of Russian ground lines of communication in Kupiansk. So Ukrainian forces are shelling Russian ground lines of communication now. And Russians returned fire by shelling civilian infrastructure near Kramatorsk. So that isn't Seversk. Here's Kramatorsk. Let's pull up the video that destroyed railway bridge number 18. See what that destroyed railway bridge looks like here. Page doesn't exist. What you mean? Oh, I guess we can't see the destroyed railway bridge. Bad link here. Nope. They got a bad link on the sourcing on that video. likely a Telegram video. Then when it gets leaked out to the Western sources, send it out, it gets disabled. This one got sent to Twitter, but a lot of these things get deleted afterwards. So no link there I can pull up. Let's go back to the map. I was hoping to get a video with that one. Said we had one. I was played. Yeah. No, I can't. I tried a couple other ways to try to pull up the link. It's not working. I apologize, chat. Can't pull that one up. So anyways, destroyed railway bridge. We had seen the reports yesterday. We looked at a picture of it, or what it looks like from the sky on the satellite. Watch yesterday's stream or during the map update to catch that. But the video of it isn't pulling up right now. Russian forces attempted an assault near Seversk. So now we're talking about Seversk. They attempted an assault near the town of Seversk. This is to the east of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian troops conducted an offensive operation in the direction of Ivano-Dorivka, which is 15 kilometers southeast of Seversk, from the Lysychansk oil refinery, but retreated after suffering heavy losses. Lugansk Oblast head Serhiy Hadai described the offensive as massive. The Lugansk People's Republic ambassador to Russia, Ryadin Mirshenik, claimed that Russian-led forces surrounded Seversk on 3 sides, but provided no evidence of this claim. Mirshenik could hope that such a major claim would raise the morale of LNR soldiers that are reportedly unwilling to continue fighting in Donetsk. Ukrainian forces reportedly conducted a precision strike and destroyed a Russian ammunition depot in Rodakov in the Lugansk Oblast on August 15th, but did not officially confirm the strike as of the time of the publication. Russian forces continued shelling along the entire line of contact. So there's no evidence of Russian-led forces of the Lugansk People's Republic of surrounding Seversk. So lots of hopium for those that are fighting for the so-called Lugansk People's Republic, because the morale is all the way down. Low morale. They don't want to fight anywhere but the Lugansk. Russia will force their useful idiocy to continue, or they'll die. Comply or die with Russia. So now we're going to go down to Bakhmut. So nothing's changed. Just Russian claims of surrounding Seversk with no evidence to back it up. Bakhmut. Just south of the town of Seversk. Russian forces continue to launch offensive operations south, southeast, and northeast of Bakhmut on August 16th. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces failed assaults towards Soledar and Bakhmutsky, which is northeast of Bakhmut, and Mayorsk and Zadasiv, which is south of Bakhmut. Ukrainian artillery repelled a Russian reconnaissance and forced attempt near Vershnaya, which is 12 kilometers southeast of Bakhmut. Lugansk People's Republic ambassador to Russia, Ryadin Mirshenik, claimed that Russian and proxy forces control most of Soledar's industrial zone, and that fighting is ongoing in Soledar, but there is no evidence that Russian or proxy forces have advanced beyond the Novgips Donbass gypsum factory, which is southeast of Soledar. Pull that up on the map. Russians continue to claim that they've gone further than their own pictures and geolocated images are suggesting. So here's the Novgips gypsum factory in Soledar. I'm trying to pull this up so you can see it make sense on the map, and then we'll zoom in on the map too. So here's the Ukrainian controlled city of Bakhmut. Make it easier to see. Still the Ukrainian controlled city of Soledar, right? And the Russians have advanced into the gypsum factory, which is like right here, right off the highway. They haven't advanced through it. It's a Soledar pretty much goes between Soledar extends from the T-1302 to the T-0513, and the Russians are just off of the T-1302 highway at the Nov-Gips factory here in the from the satellite image. Continue to claim that they've had more territory than that. Russian forces heavily shelled Bakhmut settlements to the north, south, and southeast. So the latest that's happened in Bakhmut is the Russian forces have advanced into that gypsum factory, which is southeast of Soledar in Bakhmut. Beyond that, no territorial gains or losses in any direction, just on the other side of that T-1302 highway into the factory. So now we're going to go down to the city of Advidka, circled here, still Ukrainian controlled. Russian forces conducted offensive operations southwest of Advidka on August 16th. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces launched a ground assault from Starya Mykolivka towards Nevelsky, which is approximately 15 kilometers southwest of Advidka, where hostilities continue as of the time of the publication. Donetsk People's Republic militia claim that the DNR 1st Slavic Brigade has made unspecified advances west of Advidka. Russian forces continued an airstrike near Marinka, which is approximately 27 kilometers southwest of Advidka, and continued shelling Advidka and settlements within its vicinity. Lots of claims of territory being gained now with no evidence, likely to try to rally the People's Republics of Donetsk and Lugansk because they don't have any motivation to fight anywhere else in Ukraine but their own oblast. Russia's not going to take that. Russian forces made marginal territorial gains southwest of Donetsk city. So that's it in Advidka. Unspecified advances, continued claims, but nothing that can back it up. And nothing that can back it up. That's in the town of Pisky. Let's hyper zoom here. That's in the town of Pisky here. You see the Russians claiming that they're advancing. Again, they want to try to surround Advidka from the west because Russians' advances straight onto it have failed. So the Russians' goal is to try to extend this region. I don't know how far out. This is just assuming. Russia wants to make this region Russian controlled, try to push this Donetsk front line outward, so that way they can, at least in a U shape, like they did to Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, and like they're trying to do in Bakhmut, is to try to swarm it in a U shape, and then they can advance on Advidka from here. Because these advances have failed. All of these have failed miserably. And they've been trying for 8 years right here. Donetsk is just on the other side of this border for 8 years that they haven't been able to push through. So they're extending the Donetsk front line elsewhere to try to do so. And that's about it for Advidka. So just trying to extend that front line out from Donetsk city. No reported gains. There's Russian forces conducted partially successful ground attacks towards Novo Mykolivka, 30 kilometers southwest of Donetsk city, where fighting is still ongoing. There's Novo Mykolivka right here. So fighting going on right here between Ukrainian and Russian forces trying to push this front line and extend it into the Zaporizhzhia Oblast. But beyond that, there's ground fighting taking place here. Russians are trying to extend the Donetsk Oblast border, but nothing concrete that they've been able to or has established further territorial gains in the region. All right, now we're going to be going up to the northeast, Kharkiv Oblast and Belgorod, Russian-controlled city in Russia. Ukrainian-controlled city of Kharkiv. And I'm also going to make this this blue here, because there's nothing saying that Russia has this territory at all. So I'm going to correct the map. That's Ukraine. There we go. That's better. Russian forces did not conduct any confirmed ground attacks on the Kharkiv city axis on August 16th, but continued heavy shelling. A Russian mill blogger published a map expanding claimed Russian territorial control on Obanarivka, which is 8 kilometers from the Russian border. 45 kilometers northeast of Kharkiv city, but provided no evidence for this claim. More of that. That continues. Kharkiv Oblast officials reported Russian missile strikes on 5 of the 9 Kharkiv city districts overnight between August 15th and the 16th. Kharkiv Oblast administration head Oleg Subidamagov referred to these strikes as one of the largest Russian shelling efforts against Kharkiv city recently. Russian forces also conducted airstrikes on settlements northeast of Kharkiv city, dropped phosphorus munitions on Ruska Lazova, and continue to target settlements near Kharkiv city with missile, artillery, and tank fire. So no gains. Millblogger published a map expanding claimed Russian territorial control. No evidence for the claim being made, but there's evidence that Russia's airstrikes on Kharkiv city has been the worst it's been in quite a while on the region. Russian Defense Ministry keeps continuing. They claim control over Udi with no evidence of such. They continue to claim that they've gained more and more territory up in this oblast, but there's no evidence of anything. They take pictures when they do so. So how we fact check that, or how you can verify if the Russians are in these territories, is they will take photos of them, because they're quote unquote Russia's quote unquote liberating these villages. So they'll take a picture of them in the headquarters, post it. It gets on the Telegram. It gets picked up and shown everywhere. There's just no evidence of it. None at all. So they're trying to rally some morale to try to show that they're winning in areas, because they're not. That's it in the northeast. Nothing's changed. Let's go to the south, the southern axis. Some of the key Ukrainian cities: Mykolaiv, Kryvyi Rih, Zaporizhia, highlight Odessa as well. Ukrainian counteroffensive directions. And I'll also highlight some of the key Russian-controlled cities in the southern axis of Ukraine. Happy Relaxation Day from Gene. Thank you so much, Gene. Kherson, Novokhovka, Melitopol, and Mariupol. All right, let's get the update. Russian forces conducted several unsuccessful offensive operations in northern and northwestern Kherson Oblast on August 15th and August 16th. Ukrainian military officials reported that Russian forces attempted to advance on Novokarivka, which is approximately 36 kilometers northwest of Kherson city, but retreated after failing to improve their tactical positions in the area. Russian forces also unsuccessfully attempted to improve their tactical positions around Bilohorivka, which is near the Ukrainian bridgehead over the Inhlowets River. A conduct of reconnaissance and force operation in Oso-Okarivka near the Kherson-Dnipropetrovsk Oblast border. Russian forces also reportedly launched 14 airstrikes along the line of contact in the Kherson Oblast, with most focusing on Ukrainian positions around the Inhlowets River bridgehead northwest of Kherson city. Russian forces continued firing rockets from Uragan and Smerch multiple launch rocket systems on settlements in Kryvyi Rih district and the Mykolaiv city, respectively. Russian forces continue to fire on settlements situated on the right bank of the Dnipro River from positions in occupied Zaporizhzhia Oblast. Ukrainian officials reported that Russian forces struck Nikopol with 40 Grad rockets in the neighboring settlement of Marionets, with fire from a Payan self-propelled heavy artillery system. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed that Ukrainian forces in Nikopol are preparing for large-scale provocations at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, but provided no evidence. The Russian Defense Ministry could be setting information conditions for further shelling of Nikopol or a provocation of its own. Russia took over that power plant. They're using it as a human shield, because then they can launch their strikes, their missiles from the nuclear power plant, and Ukraine can't respond because it would start a nuclear catastrophe. There's already been shellings. I don't believe Ukraine's responsible for those at all. 100% Russian provocation on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. And the fact that Russia has also came out and said that the front lines, it would be dangerous for the IAEA to come and investigate the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant through the capital of Kyiv is ridiculous. They called Kyiv the front lines. I mean, Russia is just got, they're just a mind F. They want the IAEA to travel through the east or through the Crimean Peninsula to get to Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, because then they could frame that as a, hey, listen, even the nuclear atomic agencies traveling through our front lines, we're just in a special military operation. We're not at war. Whereas if the IAEA comfortably, realistically travels through the capital of Kyiv or through western territory in Ukraine, they're not going to be at risk for getting hit. Also, if something were to happen to the IAEA investigative team, Russia is going to blame Ukraine for it happening. That way they can go through the east, something can happen to them, and then Russia will say, well, they didn't go through the front lines, they went through our lines. There's no front lines there. Ukrainian forces continue to target Russian ammunition depots and strongholds on the southern axis. The Ukrainian Southern Operational Command reported that Ukrainian aviation struck 2 Russian strongholds and a pair of ammunition and military equipment warehouses in Novopetrivka and Matsianivka, both 53 kilometers and 40 kilometers west of Mykolaiv city. Ukrainian missile and artillery units also destroyed a Russian supply point in Suky Skvok, near the Ukrainian bridgehead in the northwestern Kherson Oblast. So there's another report. Press officer of the Mykolaiv Oblast Military Administration, Dmytro Plenichuk, stated that Russian forces are increasingly moving Chechen units to Kherson Oblast as the police force aimed at stopping Russian forces from deserting. Lots of military-aged males and those that are in the police force, the military in the south, are starting to retreat and desert. But it is consistent with Ukrainian intelligence reports that Russian forces are deploying Rozgvirdia and Chechen units to the left bank of the Dnipro River to block Russian personnel from retreating from the northern Kherson Oblast. Can't retreat. You get shot on sight. Or sent to the Gulag, likely get shot. Russians are retreating. And that's it for the southern axis. We got more video. We can go through the video in the Crimean Peninsula again, which we'll get to. But in terms of north of the Crimean Peninsula in the southern axis, Ukraine destroying Russian supply points, ammunition depots. Russian personnel are retreating from the Kherson Oblast, so Russia needs help from Chechen units to come assist to try to stop them from retreating or kill them, likely. And that's it in the south. Mobilization and force generation efforts. So this is how Russia is funding its military and how they're expanding their combat capabilities in the region.
Civil defense
Russian forces continue to face recruitment challenges, likely even when recruiting reservists and volunteers for the most prestigious military units with no prior, one more time. I have an issue where I jump down ahead of myself. I like read ahead so that way my brain works. I'm mush sometimes. Russian forces continue to face recruitment challenges, likely even when recruiting reservists and volunteers for the most prestigious military units. Novgorod Oblast local outlets reported that Russian forces are recruiting residents with no prior military experience to serve on the submarine Veliky Novgorod. How do you serve on a submarine with no prior military experience? Like, let alone driving a military vehicle, you're getting in a submarine? Commander of the Veliky Novgorod Sergei Mykolaiv stated that the submarine has 8 vacancies of a crew of 60 and asserted that recruits do not need to have prior special training or to have served in Russian forces at all. The Veliky Novgorod submarine is currently supporting the Russian invasion of Ukraine, operating within the Black Sea. This recruiting effort suggests that Russian forces are struggling to generate interest even for positions not directly on the front lines. Yikes. Yikes. Struggling to find positions that are not like in the Black Sea. Novgorod Oblast officials also announced that recruitment has begun for a Novgorod rocket battalion that will form in Luga in the Leningrad Oblast. Luga hosts a large artillery training ground and the base of the 9th Guards Artillery Brigade of the 6th Combined Arms Army. Officials are also offering a one-time enlistment payment of 250,000 rubles, which is $4,000. Novgorod Oblast residents have previously reported receiving letters advertising contract service in Ukraine for men currently in the reserve in early March, with the same daily combat pay of 8,000 rubles, which is about $53, and a monthly salary of 200,000 rubles, which is $3,250. The March advertisement did not offer a one-time enlistment bonus. So they're offering ruble bonuses right now. Bonuses. Ain't getting that money. Russian federal subjects continue to announce the formation of new volunteer units, but are unlikely to meet their quotas. Bryansk Oblast is forming a new unnamed volunteer unit of 350 servicemen that reportedly has enlisted 77 men so far. Bryansk Oblast officials are offering a one-time enlistment payment of 210,000 rubles, which is about $3,400 split over 3 months. You get $3,400 split over 3 months. What would that be? 2 $1,700 payments? Bryansk Oblast officials specified that recruitment would last until December 31st. Ukraine's Strategic Communications Center reported that Nizhny Novgorod Oblast-based Kuzma Minin Volunteer Tank Battalion also generated 30 recruits out of their desired 160, which, if true, further suggests that Russian federal subjects are unable to create fully staffed volunteer units. Russian forces at the same time are less interested in recruiting women for combat, only offering some medical positions despite shortages in recruits. So they got, for the Bryansk Oblast, they have 77 enlisted out of 350 that they need. And the Volunteer Tank Battalion has only generated 30 recruits out of a desired 160. They're not interested in women fighting at the front lines. Not looking good for the Russian military at all. Not looking good for Russia. Finally, we're going to talk about activity in Russian-occupied areas in regards to the map update. Russian objective: consolidate administrative control of occupied areas, set conditions for potential annexation into the Russian Federation or some other political arrangement of Moscow's choosing. Russian occupation authorities are struggling to provide basic services to occupied territories. Head of the Zaporizhia Oblast Occupation Administration, Yevgeny Bolitsky, reported on August 16th that local occupation authorities have concentrated all social services, including receiving pensions and Russian passports, in Berdyansk, making these services difficult to access for civilians outside of the city. Advisor to Mariupol's mayor, Petr Andriachenko, reported on August 16th that Russian occupation authorities have not fixed on the Mariupol sewage and filtration system, but have established ad hoc, gravity-powered filtration systems that produced visibly clean water, but released sewage into the soil. They don't even have clean water. They have plumbing problems. The city of Mariupol isn't even... They can't even operate a city there. They can't even operate a society within that city because Russia shelled it to nothing. The Mariupol City Council reported that stores in Mariupol either lack provisions or are selling provisions at a high markup, likely due to Russian occupation authorities providing limited amounts of humanitarian aid to select vulnerable Mariupol populations. Footage of Mariupol reconstruction efforts reportedly show the construction of cheap and speedily built apartment buildings that the occupation authorities may use as propaganda to claim they are rebuilding the entire city. Let me pull that up. Yep, building fake apartments to propagandize the region while you have the real apartments in Mariupol in the distance. This is some North Korea shit. Likely why Russia's flirting with North Korea. Trying to get North Korea to come fight with them. There's another photo. And pull up the other one. Nope, that one doesn't exist. This is the only photo, the only good one. Oh, here you go. Russians have been speedily constructing a new cheap building in the ruins of Mariupol. Locals guessing that it will be used as propaganda for appearance that the entire city is being rebuilt. Wow. There's the fake building in Mariupol. Cheaply built buildings so they can quickly put that on propaganda. Oh, literally. Nemesis, this account, the radiator isn't even connected to anything. It's literally just there for show. What's it connected to? I wonder if they're HIMARS proof. Oof. We'll get to that later. We'll get to that likely tomorrow, actually. So there's some evidence of buildings in Mariupol getting built up to try to propagandize the region as if Russia's rebuilding Mariupol. They only have one building while the other ones are still completely damaged. Some key takeaways from everything that I just went through. Some summary, and then we'll go through all the videos that we have. Oh no. We're good. And then we'll go through my video timeline. So key takeaways: Russian forces conducted ground attacks across the eastern axis, but failed to advance northwest of Sloviansk and east of Seversk. Russian forces are launching offensive operations around Bakhmut, southwest of Avdiivka and southwest of Donetsk City. Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive operations in northern and northwestern Kherson Oblast. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed that Ukrainian forces in Nikopol are preparing to conduct provocations at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, probably setting information conditions for further shelling of Nikopol or provocations of its own. Chechen units are reportedly relocating to Kherson Oblast to police Russian military deserters, and Russian forces struggle to recruit soldiers even for safe and prestigious jobs in Ukraine. Struggle to staff even the safest military jobs. As more and more Russian troops are abandoning their posts, going AWOL, not wanting to fight anymore. There's no morale to fight in this war at all. If you don't fight, you're going to get killed or sent to the Gulag or Russia. So it's all forced. All forced fighting. I gotta pull up my war timeline again. Comment how y'all are doing this afternoon or this evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Any questions y'all have before we move on from that update? Any questions you want me to go over or anything you want me to go into a little bit more in depth? We gotta reload our timeline here. Any questions, comments, concerns? How's the chat doing? Perfect. We'll start right at the ammunition depot in Crimea for our timeline. Actually, you know what? You know how we're gonna start? You know how we're gonna start our video update? John Sweeney. Orange hats in the chat.
Day 174. There's a new addition to the kind of knackered Russian tank museum in the heart of Kiev. And it's this little green car. And as I walk backwards toward it, you can see actually that the windscreen has been smashed by a Russian bullet. This is proof, further proof, that the Russian army set out to kill civilians in a peaceful country. Now, what's happening in the West is we're beginning to forget this bloody awful war, but it's continuing, and my friends in the Ukrainian army are risking their lives to defend their country and, in a wider sense, democracy and the free world and everything we hold dear. And at the moment, there's an argument about whether we should ban Russians from going on holiday in Europe and in Britain. And I'm a libertarian. I'm not in favour of banning anybody from doing anything. So long as you've got to run a civilised society, you've got to have rules. But at the same time, freedom is incredibly important and serious. Free movement matters. But civil Russia isn't doing enough to protest this awful bloody war. They could be hitting the streets of Moscow and St. Petersburg, and they're not. And meanwhile, my friends in the Ukrainian army are risking their lives. And civilians are being killed. Soldiers are being tortured, one castrated. For God's sake. So I think the message has got to be, Russia, do better. Show your contempt for the Kremlin. And because they're not doing that at the moment, then I think it is right to ban Russians from going on holiday to Europe and Britain. And we should do that. Love from Kiev.
I would teach them. Ban the Russians from going on vacation in Europe. And maybe they'd start realizing that there's more than what
War
Russia's
Diary,
telling them.
day 1.
That'd be one way to get at them. War Diary, day 174 from John Sweeney. Haven't seen his war updates in quite some time. Anyways, here we go on the war update full list. Video of explosion at Russian ammunition depot in the town of Myatsky in Crimea. Crimean Peninsula being hit. Ammunition depot.
Ебать.
Some
Стекай,
yeah,
с
bud.
подвала слезь быстро, сейчас волна будет, нахуй. Слезь, сейчас волна дойдет до нас. Еще и стекла, нахуй, вылетят. Уйди.
I like how Jay Rillo, you're saying that that's the mentality that deteriorates the world. Well, we're literally watching Russia deteriorate Ukraine with their actions.
Ебать.
On the contrary.
Стюкай, с подвала слезь быстро, сейчас волна будет, нахуй. Слезь, сейчас волна дойдет до нас.
But it's all good though.
Нахуй вылетит. Уйди.
It's all good though. Ukraine's coming with their counteroffensives in the south. More and more evidence continues to come through.
Да? Прям перед машиной причем.
More and more
Да
evidence.
ни хера не летают. Ух, ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
Все. Я уехал на Джанкой, поеду, автобус оставлю, все, не пускает вас гость? А нет, все, короче, я на базу автобус оставлю.
Massive strikes.
Экипаж там, блин.
Ух, ебать, они там поразлетались.
Алло,
Ни хера себе.
а какой Азовский, бля, ебаный?
Это ж автобус шевелится.
Азовскому, ебаный.
В километрах 6 автобус шевелится.
So that's the strikes in the Crimean Peninsula from today, Tuesday. Video of 122 millimeter shells blown onto the nearby roads near the explosion. This is how far away some of the shells from that depot would travel. Shells traveling quite a distance. Look at the roadways littered with them. Yeah. Quite a distance. That was a massive, just massive strike. Video shared by a Russian channel of what the ammo depot looked like before it was targeted. Reportedly by a quadcopter with munitions. It was clearly very vulnerable, and they weren't taking basic precautions you'd expect for a military at war. No operational security. We need more video. Wow, look at all the grad trucks that were in there. Oh, wow. Yes, please post more videos. If you haven't noticed that these types of people will post anything on social media. Yes, more of that, please. There's a video claimed to be filmed a month ago near Azovsky railway station. Multiple launch rocket systems and ammo matches the approximate location of today's explosions. Ooh. That's the same spot. Yeah, the Russian trucks in the field in front of it. Oh, they're open source. They're finding Russian military equipment here. Oh, wow. So Let's back it up. Back it up, Terry. Put it in reverse. Geolocation. Here's the vehicles. And let's see what else we can see from where the Russian positions are. Okay, this is the field that was hit. Can we go on to it? Oh wow. There we go. Okay. Why is it like this? It's just behind here. Why are we like this? I don't like. This is the oddest camera. Oh, you guys can't see what I'm looking at. Look at this. I'm trying to pull up the location of the trucks in the picture, but the picture is like I don't know. But it's over here. On the other side of this building. It's like skirt. I can't turn it just sideways. When I want to rotate it, it goes like this. I get dizzy. But here it is from the sky. There's the building. We're looking at the back of it. There's the field. Pull up the picture again. There's the building. There's the trucks. There were reports of a damaged railroad, but I'm not sure it's connected, and I was not able to geolocate this place yet. Yeah, follow Mark. Geolocate. There's another claim to be recent video of Russian military equipment in the open field. It can be easily geolocated here. It's 2 kilometers from Dyzhnoye. How do you pronounce that? Dyzhnojok, Dzhankoch, and 15.5 kilometers from Myoskoye. Russian military positions here. Goodness. Google Maps is annoying me. It works 1 minute and it doesn't the next. There we go. Satellite imagery. Another Russian position. Does it even pull up on satellite? It's kind of blurry down there. Vehicles. What are we looking at here? So you got the street sign from the video. So they geolocate the street sign from the video. See the Russian military equipment in the photo. I'll pull it up on screen again. Street sign. That's how you get the location where the street is. You see the Russian military equipment in the bottom photo. You got a couple Cam AZ trucks on the bottom. You got the V on it. You got a tent down there. That's how you can pick up locations. You got that street sign. Nowhere on the ground can we go down there. Nope, not seeing any ground views for us to go ourselves, but that is the geolocated position of Russian military equipment. Separately but simultaneously, we geolocated the damaged rail. It's 870 meters from the site where Russian multiple launch rocket system launchers and ammo were stored in Moskoye and supposedly hit, so it actually may have been damaged by some detonated rocket. Damaged rails, multiple launch rocket storage. Oh, wow. Yo. So you can see it's at a different angle, but you see the green structure in this top picture, and then you see the green structure here. So the angle of the picture is flipped. So you can, and then you can see the building in the background. Open source intelligence is awesome. Let's get back to Novotskopotny field base on satellite images. Looks like a really bold target. If only Ukraine has any means to reach it. Oh wow, can you pull that up? Bold place to put a bunch of military equipment. Trying to pull up my... Yeah, weird, my maps froze again. I wonder if we can see that from the satellite. They're not showing up on like Google Maps satellite. So here's that geolocation. I plugged it into maps. I'm not seeing all those military vehicles on the maps or on the satellite image. So this Google Maps satellite imagery of the area hasn't updated. But looking at it from here, looking at it from this satellite image of the region, oh my goodness. I'm seeing there's tanks. There's tanks in here. BMPs. More looks like some BTRs over here. More BMPs. Yeah, this is from Maxar. You got Maxar in the top right corner of the picture. So go back to the geolocation, see where this is. Full map. It says that this is all up in here. Using this open space. In Crimean Peninsula. That's just due south. The video that we're seeing in the Crimean Peninsula is to the southeast of this major city. So this large motor pool of Russian tanks and vehicles is directly to the south, just in this location. Would be a shame if something happened, right? Be a shame if there was an ORC safety meeting or something in there. Someone smoked too close to the equipment. On August 15th, there's still very large pieces of or presence of equipment there. Wow. So we're looking to see if there's further strikes in the Crimean Peninsula, as there has been each day in the last 2 weeks. Tuesday today and Tuesday last week.
Да?
It doesn't get tiring.
Прям перед машиной причем.
If only there were more photos from Russian vacationers on the beach.
Да нихера не летает.
Massive.
Ебать, аж автобус шевелится.
Все. Я уехал. Иркутск на Джанкой поеду, автобус оставлю, все, не пускает в Азовск.
Chat, you're doing a good job not taking the bait in the chat tonight.
А не, все,
You have a clear troll in the
я
chat.
на базу автобус оставлю, все, откуда толку, экипаж там, блин.
Ух, ебать, они там поразлетались.
Алло,
Нихера себе.
а какой Азовский, блядь, я понял.
Это ж автобус шевелится.
Азовскому, ебаный.
Километров 6 автобус шевелится.
So, continuing on now. Russia is also displaying a captured Ukrainian M777 howitzer. So, yesterday during the timeline, we had watched videos from Russia's Army Expo and some of the weapons that they're displaying, including some Iranian drones. Well, here's a allegedly a captured Ukrainian M777 howitzer. With a stick with the United States flag on there, which doesn't exist on real ones. An alleged captured a Ukrainian M777 with an American flag painted on it. Interesting. Here's more. This is more from that robot dog that can hold an RPG-26 at their expo here. Thanks, I hate it. Robot, they're not the DARPA dogs. DARPA has a cheetah. To gauge its non-effectiveness, check out the video that these guys coincidentally made a week ago.
How you going? I've been in the USA for a month, and in that time there's been 63.
Alright. I did a thing. Spark went up.
How you going? I've been in the USA for a month. And in that time, there's been 63 mass shootings, including the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde. And you know, I intended to come here and make something really dangerous, but I've now realized I can't compete with normal, everyday American life. So instead, I'm going to attempt to help and solve America's school shooting problem by strapping a gun to this robot dog.
And Russia put a RPG on it.
And you may think this is a dumb way of stopping school shootings. And so do I. But there are so many people out there that genuinely believe more guns in the classroom is the answer to a kid bringing a gun into a classroom.
They be somebody, a good guy with a gun.
We should have a law enforcement officer at every school.
Is armed law enforcement on the campus and prepare and train teachers and other administrators.
So here's my pitch to you. Let's skip having an armed person in every classroom, as the cops in Uvalde failed to do anything anyway. So instead, every school in America has a robot dog with a gun on it. Then, when an armed person enters the room, bam, the dog smashes out of the cupboard and neutralizes the threat. And the best part, unlike cops, robot dogs don't get scared. But before this is
fucking treated. What is this? I did a thing. Jeez.
Is implemented around America, I should probably build a prototype first. And luckily, I have fellow soyboy William Osman, who knows nothing about guns but is good at making dangerous things. Now, the building process was a little bit different to my other videos.
Russia took this video seriously.
I came up with this idea. I didn't actually have the robot dog, a gun, or a place to shoot it, which turns out are all quite important. And I do actually happen to know a fellow YouTuber that owns a robot dog that he spent a very large amount of money on, which they've only filmed one video with, and is now collecting dust in their house without a gun strapped to it. But unfortunately, that person is lame and didn't want to get arrested. So I needed to find someone else that was keen. And lucky for me, a man named Jonathan Miller.
That's the same dog too. This prototype or whatever the hell this thing is. This is the exact same model as Russia has.
Lives in El Paso, Texas, agreed to let me use his robot dog, but on one condition. He needs to remain anonymous. So William Osman and I started the hard process of designing a bracket for the robot dog and a system to remotely fire the gun without actually having the robot dog or gun. And our plan is to use a pre-made gun holder that can adjust to fit many different types of guns, which will sit on top of the dog. Then we designed and 3D printed some parts. And by we, I mean William designed the complicated one, and I designed this cylinder with holes in it. And this system works by having a servo motor here with a string attached to the servo arm, which runs through the trigger. Then all we did was connect the servo to a remote control. And now...
That works so easily.
Oh, don't film me.
What did you make, William?
It's able to squeeze the trigger of this fake gun, which is honestly already terrifying.
Yeah.
This feels like we're doing a terrorist attack.
It feels wrong, but I don't think there's anything wrong with this.
And now that we've made the system, we need to travel to meet Jonathan Miller in Texas. And barely 10 minutes after we picked up the dog, we realized we messed up. The mounting system was not going to fit the dog how we thought it would. So we had to make some changes, which we couldn't do in our hotel room. So we put on some hard hats and high vis and sat in the parking lot of our hotel with some work cones, and no one asked any questions. And the dog was actually slightly helpful in fixing itself.
Can you pass the drill?
Except when he got too excited.
You just hear it just ripping on the floor.
But eventually, after 2 hours of using the wrong tools, we managed to get the mount to properly fit. So now, we just had to get a gun.
Oh my god.
And lucky for us, we were in the same place as Brandon Herrera, one of YouTube's biggest gun channels, and a man that lives just down the road from the Uvalde shooting and believes America needs more guns. And even though Brandon and I share very different political opinions, I got in touch with him and explained what we were doing. And he agreed to let us go to his range where we could safely shoot the dog and to also use some of his guns. Now Brandon
anyone touching the dog yet?
A lot of guns.
The robot dog?
Like a lot. And definitely was practicing his Second Amendment right to bear arms by owning a missile, a gun for taking down helicopters, and a World War I machine gun. Now, I definitely wouldn't try to rob a man with a missile. But lucky for us, he also had some light, fully automatic weapons which we could put on the dog. And he recommended the MP5, which doesn't have much recoil. And based on the dog's sketchiness so far, I think
guy has the entire Grand Theft Auto store in his house.
Want as little recoil as possible. So we adjusted.
He is the ammunition owner.
The mount to fit the gun, and then turned on the dog so we could put the mount on top of it.
You don't know when he's going to jump up and strike. Whoa!
Oh. This is what Russia has at their expo.
We're gonna die. I'm not so worried about Skynet anymore. We're gonna die.
Alrighty. Let's
just breaks, and the one at the the expo has an RPG on its
the
back.
gun on this thing.
What could go wrong? Was that his battery?
He shot his own battery out.
And that filled us full of confidence. So we strapped down the gun and mounted it to the dog using some ratchet straps.
What? There you go. Ah!
That's not gonna stay.
Okay.
If you tilt his head, you go the other way.
And I'm starting to think this dog is scared of guns too. He's just shaking all over the place. But it seems like we can still aim in the up and down and side to side directions. And most importantly, can still jump shot.
No, don't do it. Don't you watch it, you watch it. Why would you do it? Because it's going to face them as well. Don't do it. I don't know why we would do that.
Just stay on top of it. I want to know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's joke.
So we think the dog is working well enough. So we packed it up and a heap of guns and took it out to Brandon's private range in the middle of nowhere.
You got a private range. Oh wow.
And seeing this robot dog in real life actually walk around with a gun on top of it was pretty surreal and terrifying, especially knowing how easy it was for us idiots with no real experience to make this in a couple of days.
It looked like it was just about to fall over.
Still don't know if it works.
Whoa!
Oh, yep.
And it's having even more trouble walking around out here.
It's got a leash on it.
And most of the time, it kind of just gets off balance and then runs off in that direction.
It's still slipping sideways.
But it should still work. So we decided it was time for the very first test shot, which is the perfect opportunity for us to...
So that tells me it can't even walk on terrain with something on its back. So, and Ukraine is like...
Work out the aiming system as well, which is just going to be a GoPro positioned behind the gun sights connected to my phone.
Oh, wow.
Then once it seemed to be lined up with the sights, Brandon put a single round in and I attempted to hit this white claw. But first, a word from the sponsor of this video, NordVPN.
No thanks. Thanks Nord though.
Money back guarantee. Okay, back to the robot dog test shot.
Yeah, well,
look at it's like side. It's not. You're not even looking at it, so you're not even looking at it through the sight picture. You're gonna have to correct that. Look at how the front sight is just completely off center. The gauntlet's leaning. Oh man. Why didn't they do it? It's like laying it down on it, like the way in the gun on its side. Have the ejection port facing up. No, I don't know. Whatever. Listen, hey, they're the ones that have the innovation channel, not me.
yeah.
You ready?
Dude, they put the sirens on.
Yes! Nailed it!
Yes! Oh, nice.
And the aiming was pretty difficult, but it is accurate. And best of all, the dog barely moved when it shot. So we moved on and set up some props to test how the dog goes in a school shooting situation.
I think our aim is going to be to not shoot the children.
That's a pretty controversial statement.
And I thought the gun boys would stop us when we whipped out the school kid targets, but they were still keen for me to put them up and run through a school shooting scenario. And I feel bad even setting up these targets to shoot. So let's hope the gun dog is accurate enough to only take out the bad guys.
Oh wow.
This guy
Yep.
and this guy.
And this is where it starts to get very dangerous. As before, it was stationary, but now the dog is going to be running around with a submachine gun with 30 rounds of ammunition.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah. Now I'm nervous. I'm really nervous.
And it wasn't only us. The gun boys were also very nervous around this gun when it was placed in the hands of something unpredictable. And based on how much it loved to jump around, I don't think we can really be behind him. So the plan is to hide behind a mound on the left from where we can safely control the dog. I would be on aiming duty, and William would be controlling the safety remote, which needs to be turned on, and then also shooting.
What do you call
I'm not going to be anywhere near that range.
All this position?
T-pose.
What does it do?
It makes it obvious that no one is touching the remotes.
So I set down the dog in front of the targets. And then Brandon cocked the first round, and we were ready for the real test. And I very quickly realized a problem. I thought I'd be able to hide behind the mound and control the dog, but the mound interrupts the GoPro signal. So I actually need to place my hands above the mound with a line of sight in order to control the dog.
Even if we're above the berm, we're fine, because if some wonky down, all we have to do is get below.
Yeah, I've got it aimed.
Fuck
at a couple
that.
of things.
Hold my beer. There it goes.
Shoot. You want me to shoot? Trigger's armed. Tell me when.
Yeah, shit.
Trigger disarmed.
Shit.
Oh.
Shit. Shit.
Oh.
No.
It's leaning.
Hold it, hand shit.
Okay, it's disarmed.
Okay. Yeah. Shit.
Oh. Oh. What the fuck?
Shit.
Did you guys forget the siren?
Oh, it fell over. Dog fell over.
Oh.
And after reviewing the damage, it was worse than I thought.
Oh, Alan!
Wait, what?
Absolutely.
Oh no.
That was a kill shot. If that's what you were going for, you did a great job.
I wasn't going for that. I was going for his bubble.
I didn't hit any bad guys, and I took out one kid. It's alright though. I think I've worked out the problem. We need more ammunition, and we need the gun to be fully automatic.
That's what some people in the chat said, unironically. So more ammo, and let's put it in full auto. That'll correct it. Ow. Hell yeah.
Ow.
Fuck. The thing's twitching.
What the f*** are you doing?
Yo, fuck that, dude. I'm not going anywhere near this thing. Putting a gun on the back of a dog, dude. One of these DARPA things. Dude, look at he's out of control. What you mean? Throw it, like, kick it. Oh man, I'm not going anywhere near this crap.
And you know how I said I was scared of this thing before?
Kick it and grab the gun.
People online are always saying how scared they are of these becoming the future of warfare. I now kind of feel the opposite and less worried about robots. These things are expensive and, more importantly, idiots. And if the military wants to kill people, it's always going to be cheaper and easier for them to just trick young boys into doing it for them.
Ooh, fucking treated.
Yeah, she is in rock and roll.
Oh, we got a sight on this one now.
Shit.
Full auto.
Oh no! Oh shit! Oh, it's leaning! It's leaning! It's leaning! Oh!
And the dog really can't handle the gun and always ends up on the ground. And not only that, the recoil causes the dog to run backwards while freaking out and lifting its legs in the air, spraying across all the targets. But this time, I did a little better with the aiming and managed to hit our school shooter twice in his vital organs, his finger and his bag.
Oh.
So this time, in order to guarantee we would hit the target, we placed the dog directly in front of this old man. And then tried again with another full 30-round magazine.
No.
You get about one burst before the dog falls over.
Got some good hits. Yeah. The leg there, that's a nice little femoral bleed. This guy's not going to be doing any kitty diddling anytime soon. Yeah.
Whoa.
2, 3, 4.
What mouth
5,
shot.
6.
His mustache.
Dude, that's pretty
so it
good.
works if you start it completely dead on with something in front of it.
Yes,
But
exactly.
in terms of aiming, oh my god.
Was there any collateral? Oh my god.
Collateral here.
Oh
Why?
no!
Like a kid, it's just a headshot.
This reminds me of Men in Black when Will Smith had to go through the training.
At the end of that, we hit 2 bad guys.
The best of the best of the best, sir.
And 2 kids, which isn't actually that bad and is a similar rate to normal American police. But there was still one thing I wanted to try, a real jump shot.
Oh dear. They're still messing with this thing? It's nearly nighttime?
Yep. Alright. We good to go? Yep. That is live and on semi.
And as you can see, I don't think I've really solved America's school shooting problem. It's almost as if the more guns you have in the classroom, the more kids get shot.
Oh dear.
But I don't think this whole thing has been a complete waste of time. And I think I've realized how this dog can really help American police.
It's got little siren hat on. Fucking treated, dude. He took donuts to the Uvalde Police Department with the dog, dude. Oh, and oh no. Oh. Walk off into the sunset.
Thank you so much for watching.
Oh, that was the best. He took the donuts and dropped them off at the Uvalde Police Department. Wow. What a video. I wasn't sure what we were going to get out of that, but I got a lot more than I expected. That's the so big scary dogs. Yep. That's the same exact dog you're seeing Russia advertising at their expo with an RPG on his back. Way less scary now. Feel way better now. Here's a video from yesterday of the thing. It's got a ninja costume on. So you couldn't handle a little MP5 on the back, and they got an RPG on this thing. Thing's dressed like Ninja Gaiden. Look at the way it's wiggling right there. The wiggling just sitting like that. Wiggling. That thing would go flying if it fired that RPG. Yeah, stop. That was the best. I put a gun on a robot dog. I think the DARPA cheetahs are way scarier than the robot dogs. Way scarier. Oof. Probably a drunk Russian driving a military vehicle. Into a building. I was going to see that looks like a restaurant, but I don't know. Too much vodka. Too much vodka. Here's reportedly footage of Russian tanks fighting in Kharkiv Oblast. So Russian tanks in Kharkiv. That's in the northeastern region of Ukraine. Northeastern Donbass region. I mean, what do you mean? Okay, the Russian military is facing serious manpower and equipment issues in Ukraine, and meanwhile, some soldiers are taking part in a competition and new high-tech weapons are being displayed that aren't in service. There is a perception that the Russian Ministry of Defense isn't doing enough. Seems likely that there will be a strong sense of resentment from Russians fighting in Ukraine for the senior leadership of the Russian military once this is over, especially since units are relying on crowdsourcing for equipment and UAVs instead from their own military. It's a Russian military event. We got the crowd truck in the back, their propaganda vehicle that they have in Mariupol with the messaging on the screen. They have a dude sitting in it. Yeah, run away. Quick. Those are like 10 people there. I see the next wave of conscripts are there. Russian training. New wave of conscripts has arrived. Russian Teletubbies. I don't know what's going on here, but this is what's really. Keep doing that, looking like that while this happens in the south. Go ahead. Tripping acid, probably doing meth. Looks methed up to me. That's methed up. Run! So interesting, in the trophy exhibit from the war in Ukraine, Russia is showing off a number of Chinese UAVs that were reportedly used by Ukrainian forces. So they have a Ukraine war exhibit and a supposedly China UAVs in Ukraine. Not turkeys? Why not the Bayraktar? Russian helicopters is demonstrating the BAS-750 unmanned helicopter with a 150-kilometer range from its ground control station. Like a helicopter UAV? What the hell is that?
What the fuck is that?
Helicopter drone. Rostek released a video of an unmanned BMP-3 with a Sinister combat module. All coming out from this expo. I'm sorry, BMPs are not scary. Okay, so an unmanned BMP-3. That'd probably actually operate better than the manned BMP-3s that the Russians have been manning. Urla von Gozavad had said it began serial production of the 120mm Phlox and Magnolia artillery system. Oh wow. What in the hell? What century is this? Video of the Oshnik combat module developed by UVZ's NPO Electro Machina, which comes from the Prometheus Stationary and Narwhal Naval Divisions. This is all coming out of that expo.
Стой, руки вверх. Стой, руки вверх. Стой, руки вверх.
Like some janky RoboCop shit. Crowd control. You can put that on their Tiger vehicles to try to control some of the cities that are not cooperating. And that's it from Rob Lee. That's it for Rob Lee's timeline. Here is from Radio Free Europe. Care amid chaos as doctors push their limits to aid Ukraine's war wounded.
Я просто роблю свою роботу. Я не вважаю, що щось, коли потрібно, ми всі виконуємо просто якусь частину своєї роботи. Важливо просто, щоб цю роботу хтось міг виконувати. Наскільки це можливо, виконую. Я не кажу, що я щось роблю екстра, ну просто кожен робить свою роботу і разом це створює якусь взаємодію.
The bravery for these medics continues. The medics and doctors.
Самі важкі моменти, напевне, бувають психологічно, коли бачиш таких молодих людей. У нас зустрічаються по 20 років, 22 роки молоді хлопці, в яких важкі поранення є, які втрачають кінцівки, очі, ну, стають інвалідами.
Medics go without sleep as patients from battle zones keep streaming in. You couldn't do it, I couldn't do it either. But say they're determined to keep going as long as it takes. So a report from Radio Free Europe on that. Going through the timeline on the Ukraine War Video Report. Ukrainian soldiers on the way to retake occupied areas. I don't know if that's unconfirmed, or is it confirmed? The alleged Ukrainian soldiers on their way to retake occupied territory. Here again is after today's explosions in the Crimean Peninsula. In the temporarily occupied Crimean Peninsula, there are huge queues at the Simferopol railway station. Crimean residents trying to evacuate from the peninsula as Russians as the Ukrainian strikes continue on Russian ammunition depots, military bases. Zelenskyy already told the south and the east to evacuate. A long way out. I don't even know if that's a... What's this? Eight 2022. Using the incendiary munitions, which is against the Geneva Convention. Incendiary munition strikes on civilian populated areas in Ukraine. There is no danger. We are all safe, no problem. Smile and preview of what's on deck for the live show.
20 миллионов волонтеров, 300 миллионов сотрудников Росгвардии, 650 миллиардов дронов все потушили. Никакой опасности нет. Опасность уничтожена. Безопасность восторжествовала. Конец связи.
Forbidden sparkles, yes. In the Estonian city of Narv, the dismantling of the T-34 memorial tank has begun. The monument will be transferred to the museum by the decision of the Estonian government. T-34 monument being moved in Estonia. I wonder if there's any more information on that. Estonian city of Narv. Dismantling of the 34. So let's just do this. Oops. News. I'm not seeing anything about that. I mean, Estonia. Let's do Estonia T-34. T-34 tank. Estonia removes Soviet-era monument, citing public order. Estonia's government said Tuesday it has decided to remove a Soviet-era monument from public space in eastern border town sitting on the Baltic country's Russian-speaking part, with the prime minister saying the reason for the dismantling is that it represents a risk for public order. No one wants to see our militant and hostile neighbor foment tensions in our home, Prime Minister Kaja Kallas said, adding the move came following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We will not afford Russia the opportunity to use the past to disturb the peace in Estonia. Kallas said they didn't want to give Russia the opportunity of tearing old open wounds. Outside Narva, Estonia's third largest town with a large Russian-speaking population, a replica of a T-34 tank and a red Soviet star sits atop a monument commemorating the Soviet soldiers who died freeing Estonia from Nazi Germany during World War II. The replica of the Soviet tank will be taken to the Estonian War Museum in Vimsi, a north town in the capital of Tallinn, the Estonian broadcaster ERR said. The town, whose 57,500 inhabitants are chiefly Russian speakers, sits on the border with Russia about 210 kilometers, which is 130 miles, east of Tallinn, and is separated by the Russian town of Ivangorod by the Narva River. The whole monument was being dismantled Tuesday, and the operation will be carried out in a dignified manner. For example, the flowers and candles placed at the monuments will be taken to a cemetery and not thrown in the trash. So that's what we're seeing in this video from Estonia. Seen plenty of those views. Russian warehouse explosion, part 2, up close and bigger explosions. Golly, I haven't seen this one.
Обалдеть.
Golly.
Вот это да.
Explosions in the southern axis and the Crimean Peninsula. Way closer than the couple videos we've seen already. One more time on that one.
Ни хрена себе.
Russian ammunition depot.
Вот это да.
Oop. Oop. You seen those videos?
Извините, ребят.
Here's another video of mass detonation in the enemy's ammunition depot.
Это горит склад рядом с моим домом.
Another angle of it.
Сегодня я, наверное, на работу не выйду.
Oh.
Взрывами повыбивало все окна в нашем доме. Потушить не могут. Вон видно на нем взрывы. Это прям вот рядом с селом старая ферма. И с нее вот это вот все горит. 6 утра. Утро начинается не с кофе. Извиняюсь. Трясутся руки. Это все от нервов.
I thought there was gonna be an explosion there at the end. I filmed myself delivering gear for the UAF. I hope you enjoy it. Let's see what we got here. Oh, playing some Civ. Playing some Civilization on the way. New York City, Hartford. From Arizona, so people that sent equipment. How do they get all that into Ukraine? Interesting to see how he gets that to Ukraine. Oh, I guess loading all that on the plane was fine. Was all right. Fourth leg, JFK to Warsaw to Kyiv. Do I just need a passport and I can go to Kyiv? Or do I need? Do you still need to be? And you still have to have some connections to Ukraine, because right now they limited it. But I don't know if that's changed. What was in the bags? A bunch of miscellaneous military gear and equipment that is necessary. Last batch is over 2,000. Oh, wait. Do we get to see it delivered? Oh, wait. JFK Terminal 7 personnel, head of customs at Warsaw. Are Ukraine making it all possible? The Reddit thread.
Sparkling unicorn mask.
Those need to go to Chester's unicorn people. That is the decision that.
We don't get to see it go to Kyiv, or it just gets on the. You just see it from here, huh? I thought we were gonna get to see it like handed off. Well, it makes his way in there. So you definitely got to get to Poland. Wondering, my passport's expired, so I'd have to get a new one. If it's possible to get into Ukraine, I'm willing. I'm ready, willing, and able. 100%. We're ready, willing, and able. All right, y'all. I think that's gonna be it for the night, though. Went through all the latest video clips, news updates. Tune in tomorrow from 12 to 5 here on Mercado Media. On Facebook and YouTube, because I do a news rundown throughout for all of the latest all of the latest topics and stories and all of the trending news going on in the world. Right here on Mercado Media. Also, make sure you guys join our Telegram channel, join our Discord server, subscribe to Snack Squad TV. I'm going to beam the YouTube stream to this next. We're going to be playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider tonight. Lara Croft, part 2 of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We're doing a playthrough, and then tomorrow night will be the part 2 of Spider-Man Remastered. I'm taking turns streaming both of these video games. So if you're interested in some gaming chill content, 420 friendly gaming, head on over to Snack Squad TV after the stream, or just hang out in the Mercado Media YouTube feed and I will send you there. You guys are awesome. Shout out to all of the orc hunters in the chat. Thank you to everybody that's a member of the YouTube channel, a supporter of the Facebook page. Grab that supporter badge in the chat. Grab the membership badge on the YouTube channel to help keep me going here. Thank you to everybody that sent super chats, super stickers, all of the support for you guys. Thank you again so much. Have a wonderful evening. See you guys tomorrow, or see you on the next one. Take care.